We didn't take over these places. We helped and governed. And once we
Yes.
leave, it falls apart. And so this whole thing is a scam.
Okay, Lenny Henry. Has he ever said anything funny? I have to be honest, isn't he one of these comedians, Lenny Henry, who has been around for decades and decades by virtue of the fact that he got through the early DEI schemes? Because there is no other explanation for a man without a funny bone in his body receiving so much praise and so many millions as a comedian. I mean, I can't think of one funny thing. Can you? One funny thing, one funny sketch, one funny show that Lenny Henry had produced. Well, that is until today. Until today, when Lenny Henry demanded that every single black person in Britain should receive a share of £18 trillion in compensation, in reparations. That would, of course, bankrupt the country. And finally, people all over the country are laughing at Lenny Henry, like this moment on LBC.
Quick comment on Lenny Henry, arguing that Britain should pay, get ready for this, £18 trillion in reparations to black people because of slavery. That would bankrupt the country many times over. John's in Coventry. John, your reaction to what he's saying. Good morning.
Oh, good morning, Nick. I just want to say that it's very unfair to put Lenny Henry down as unfunny, because after his comments this morning, I'm looking up incontinence pants because it's hilarious. I mean, it's the funniest thing he's ever said.
That's clever.
It's clever, but it's also true. It's also true. I mean, we should just laugh at this, but what I would say as a warning is very often these crazy ideas within a decade are all of a sudden things that are being pushed by the mainstream. So let's not just write this off. Big news. Outspoken is now available as a podcast too. So please do subscribe wherever you get yours, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and make sure you rate and review. I'll take 5 stars, if you may. So Lenny Henry has argued that Britain should pay slavery reparations to the country's black population. The comedian has co-written a book entitled The Big Payback, which supports the case for the UK to hand over £18 trillion in compensatory payments. So Lenny has argued not only in favour of a vast cash transfer to Caribbean nations, but also for money to be given to individual black citizens. Writing in the forthcoming book, Sir Lenny considers the position that all black British people need reparations for slavery, arguing that we personally deserve money for the effects of slavery. A supporting section of the book, co-authored with Marcus Walker, a TV executive and charity boss, sets out the arguments and historical precedents for giving compensatory payments to individuals as well as states. Most of Britain's 2.4 million black population is of direct African descent, and therefore not the descendants of people enslaved in the Caribbean. While this is not directly addressed in the book, the two authors argue that as modern racism was brought about by the slave trade, and all black people suffer the effects of racism, therefore all black people should be given redress. Sir Lenny argues that the reason we have racism today, and also why black British people are grossly overrepresented in the prison population, along with other disparities such as higher levels of black unemployment, are all because of the transatlantic slave trade. The book argues that it is fair for Britain to pay reparations despite no one alive today possibly having any direct involvement in the slavery, either as a perpetrator or victim. The book, to be published by Faber on October the 9th, concludes that not only should the money be raised to hand out trillions in reparations, but that these payments can and should be used for ridding the world of racism. Reparations must dismantle the foundations of Western society built on slavery and racism and make new foundations, the book argues. It says this can be done by the redistribution of power and changing how power is shared within countries and between countries. The book uses figures taken from the Brattle Report, a calculator by the Brattle Group of how much Western powers owe to former colonies in the Caribbean. Its total of $100 trillion was reached by attempting to quantify things like loss of liberty, mental pain and anguish, and also loss of potential wages suffered by slaves. Sir Lenny's book includes input from, of course, Balrabari Addy, a crazy Labour MP, sorry, I added the crazy, and Kahindi Andrews, Britain's first black studies professor, who has in the past argued that Winston Churchill was the perfect embodiment of white supremacy and that the British Empire was far worse than the Nazis. The release of the book comes amid a growing movement to pressure European nations into paying reparations to the members of the Caribbean community. So, Father Calvin, a big windfall. Big windfall coming your way, mate. Are you happy? But first, as I've entered my 40s, aging has become ever present in my life. My body doesn't back up the way it used to, and I've found that it's far easier to get injured when trying to work out, far harder to recover too. But I believe one of the best aging breakthroughs of the last decade is qualia senolytic. And I'm going to explain why. Senolytics are a science field revolutionizing human aging. A big culprit behind that middle-aged feeling can be so-called zombie cells that linger in your body after their useful function, wasting your energy and resources. Now, those zombie cells can lead to less energy, slower workout recovery, joint discomfort, and basically feeling old. Now, qualia senolytic is a groundbreaking, clinically tested supplement with 9 vegan plant-derived compounds that help your body naturally eliminate these zombie cells, helping you feel years younger in just months. But here's what I absolutely love about this product. You take it just 2 days a month, helping your body naturally eliminate zombie cells to age better at the cellular level. Now, since taking qualia senolytic, I've felt like I've turned back the clock. I have higher energy, less soreness after exercise, and a big boost in productivity too. That all equals feeling so much better. So experience the science of feeling younger by going to qualialife.com/Dan for up to 50% off your purchase. Use the code DAN, that's DAN, for an additional 15%. So that's QUALIA life.com/Dan for an extra 15% off your purchase. Your older self will thank you. And by the way, thanks to Qualia for sponsoring this episode. Now, let's get back to it.
This is so problematic, so dangerous, actually. Kehinde Andrews is a big racist communist, and his fingerprints are all over this. I have nothing against Lenny Henry. I don't think he's clever enough to write a book on reparations himself, and it seems he hasn't. He's clearly been heavily influenced. Some of the problems I have with this, communism, of course, has incurred far more deaths than Nazism, if we want to make comparisons to Nazism, as they often do. So communism should be avoided. This is rooted in communism, the idea of changing power dynamics and how countries are run, and basically taking power away from people and giving it to themselves, as well as taking money away from people and giving it to themselves. Because reparations is silly. No one alive today was a member of the transatlantic slave trade. No one benefited from it, and no one was enslaved by it. It's ridiculous, this idea we should pay all black Britons as well as former colonies. Firstly, as pointed out, most black Britons aren't from the Caribbean anyway. But those of us who do have family from the Caribbean, my father's side are black Afro-Caribbean. I don't know if my father's ancestor was a slave or a slaver. Nor do most people. And so should slavers also, or descendants of slavers, also receive reparations? That's weird. Also, who pays? Where's the money coming from? Are we going to take money from British taxpayers, therefore from poor black people, to give it to rich black people? Doesn't make any sense. And in terms of this issue of this is why there are so many black people in British prisons, it's because of racism, which comes about because of slavery. No, the reason there are so many black people in British prisons is because black people are committing so many crimes. Therefore, we need to address the societal issues and the issues in black communities and ask the questions, what's going wrong? A lot of it would actually come down to fatherlessness, which is pushed on people through communism. And that needs to be addressed because it's wicked and evil. And this idea that the colonies, the former British colonies, are all suffering because of colonialism. They benefited because of colonialism. They have the English language, the Christian faith, hospitals, railways, schools, charities. So much good came out of the British Empire, more good than bad. And most people have the capacity for good and evil, but people coming together under the British Empire were objectively, generally good. And actually, if you ask most former colonies, they would agree. again, my father's side of the family come from Jamaica. The last poll that was taken on this issue in Jamaica said that Jamaicans would have preferred to have remained a part of the British Empire, a colony of Great Britain, because they know they were economically better off when they were. Whereas when they're left to their own devices, it's now a crime-ridden cesspit that most people don't want to spend time in outside of tourist attraction resorts. And so we have to look at the rest of the world. India invited Britain in. We didn't take over these places. We helped and governed. And once we
Yes.
leave, it falls apart. And so this whole thing is a scam.
Yeah, it is. It is a scam. It absolutely is. But unfortunately, Lauren, the fact that a big publisher like Faber is going down this path and the mainstream media are lapping this up, I think this is all about preparing us in the future for thinking this idea is sane. And I mean, we've even seen the King Charles, insanely sort of open up the door to this discussion being had.
It's toxic. It's ridiculous. The publisher is not going to make their money back on this book. All I can imagine is that his advance for it was so minuscule. And I'd like to ask Lenny Henry, is he going to give his member of the British Empire knighthood back? And is he donating his fee for this book back? Because it's grifty as well. I don't trust him. I don't find him funny. And it's so ludicrous that at a time when children are going to breakfast clubs, we're in really tough economic times where we're told there is not enough money to do a huge nationwide grooming gangs investigation. And so we know that children are still being exploited and groomed and have been targeted. So, but we can't look into that. But oh, yeah, let's just pay trillions and trillions of pounds. I'd love to hear what Lenny Henry thinks about things like the grooming gang scandal and child exploitation that's going on right now that we need to deal with.
Well, indeed, because the figures are just so vast here as well. I mean, by the way, I'm not being naive because I know that he's talking about the 18 trillion pounds to also go to Caribbean nations too. But I just want to contextualize just the types of figures that we're talking about, Father Calvin, because I just did some very basic number crunching. 18 trillion pounds accounts to 7.5 million pounds per black person in the UK. So, I mean, we're talking an astronomical amount of money.
Dan, I'm only half black, so do I get half that
Well,
amount?
exactly. I was thinking that.
We've only just finished paying off not long ago. I think it was about 10 years ago. We've only just finished paying off the money that we paid to end slavery. And people can argue whether that was the right or wrong thing to do in the way that it was done. But our country and our empire ended the transatlantic slave trade all around the world, not just in our countries, our colonies, but all around the world at great expense of not just the nation then, but future generations up until us living today. And so we don't owe anyone anything, not a single more penny. The debt has been paid. Be thankful and thank the country that we did this from.
Yeah, I know. It's all just so concerning where this is heading. And I think it's heading to a very, very dark place. And while people laugh today, at some point, people are not going to be laughing. And again, just to contextualize those numbers, the UK's nominal GDP for 2024 was £2.884 trillion. So this would bankrupt the country. I mean, there's no question about that. We're already on the verge of bankruptcy. So the idea that this is even something that is affordable or practical, trust me, it's not. Thank you so much for watching Dan Wootton Outspoken. Please click on my face just to the bottom left to subscribe to this brand new independent news source and turn on the notification bell so you'll be alerted to our brand new live shows, uncancelled interviews, and special royal episodes. Outspoken is also now available as a podcast, so you can listen to the show every weekday on the go, wherever you are.